Hey everyone, it's Jamie from Independence Street Tarot and Seasons and Ritual. And we're going to talk about this beautiful full moon that is happening today in Libra. The sun is, I think, at 22 degrees, and I believe the moon is at 18 degrees right now. And so they'll be at their peak when they're both at 23 degrees. So we're not quite there at the peak, but we are definitely, it's a full moon. So, let's get into it, shall we? So the sun is in Aries and the moon is in Libra. And when the sun and the moon are opposite, that's when we have our full moons. That sun represents our masculine energy, the moon represents our feminine energy. And so please know when I talk about masculine and feminine, I am talking about them being together in us, not necessarily what society gender roles would try to make us believe. We both have we have masculine and feminine energy in us at all times. So it's a beautiful day today. The sun is out. There's no clouds in the sky. The birds are chirping. But that being said, if you wake up and you feel a little bleh, um, that could be expected because of everything that's going on in astrology. So our sun, who is in Aries, and I said is like at 22 degrees or so, is conjunct Chiron. And Chiron is the great healer. Um, Chiron is also known as that wounded healer. It is the idea of that place in us where we just don't think we're good enough or we just can't make it. Um, and so the sun is conjunct Chiron, which means they're right next to each other. So they're in this conversation. So pay attention if you're having any thoughts or feeling like, just feeling like you can't do it. You can't get it started. It's never going to work. All those things. Because the sun being conjunct Chiron, the moon is opposite Chiron. So the moon has a different view, right? She's across the way. She is intuiting, actually, there are ways this could work, or yeah, that didn't help happen last time because of this, right? So she is there to offer this different perspective of maybe um, the sun being that idea of moving forward and going and maybe not being able to see because you're too close. The moon is there to, say, well, like on this side, you can go left, you can go right, you can go sideways, you can go up, you can go down, giving you that perspective that you might need. Because again, the moon is in Libra and she's going to bring in this balance. And if the balance is this idea of, hey, you got to pump the brakes and maybe take a few more days to see if you should go left or right, then that's what she is going to advise. Um, the sun is also conjunct Eris, and Eris is the sister of Mars. Eris is the goddess of discord. Um, and Eris is about strategy. So if the sun isn't able to get strategy because it's too close to the wound, it's too close to the pride, it's too close to the ego, again, the moon is opposite Eris. So she's able to have a different conversation with her. She's able to bring in, um, she's able to soothe, right? What may be going on with the sun, right? And if the sun is not able to, speak to Eris or see what she's saying because he's too much in his own feelings, the moon is able there to, again, intuit, speak, bring in a new conversation. Because Aries, right, wants to move forward. Aries is that I am presence. And if right now the sun is highlighting a wounded spot of that I am presence, or just a spot that needs to be healed in order for you to move on strategically, um, the moon is going to be able to say, this is what needs to be healed because, by the way, I'm in Libra and Libra's cardinal air. It's a new way of thinking about a situation, right? But it's also a new way to initiate that new way of thinking about the situation. So feelings could be a little meh today. I wouldn't say like up or down, but maybe a little, I don't know, sad. But not, over the top sad because the idea is that we're listening to this video, so we know that we're feeling this way because we really got to figure out what it is where we don't feel like we're getting our strategery in and what we need to do to fix that. Because the other thing that is the moon is doing for us is that she's trining, and that trine is 120 degrees Jupiter. And Jupiter is expansion. Jupiter is in Gemini, which is another air sign. It's mutable air. It gives us the space, right, to bring in this new way of thinking. It gives us the space to bring in um, a way to soothe and heal maybe those wounds or confusions that Chiron is bringing up with the sun. And Jupiter again is the expansion of faith. So knowing that you can do it, knowing that you don't have to, you know, Eris wants a plan. And if right now you don't know there's a plan, the moon is telling you that. Well, Eris, we've got to get a few days to get in to get this plan, right? Because these Eris is going to hold that space of strategy, right? She's not going to be like, oh, okay, we don't have a plan, bye. No, she's going to hold that place of strategy because she wants justice. She wants balance. She does want a place at the table for everyone, right? And so that's her job. And if right now the sun can't easily speak to her what the plan is and is feeling maybe like a failure because it's supposed to have everything figured out because it's standing next to Chiron, the moon is sitting there holding her space because she is trining Jupiter of have faith. Just give yourself a few days. You can figure this out. Eris is doing her job. She's doing what she's supposed to do, right? And when you're able to come back to Eris and say, oh, wait, now I get it, right? I just had to take a time out. I had to do some meditation. I had to get out of my feelings. Um, and see the bigger picture because the moon was holding space for me over there in Libra, which was bringing me back into balance. Now I'm able to talk about this. So everything that's going on with the sun and the moon is pretty intense, but it's also helping us get to that place of balance because, again, the moon is in Libra and it wants that balance. Libra is the scales. And again, like I said, Libra is cardinal air. It wants this new beginning, and it wants to, you know, with air signs are tricky. I'm not saying if you're an air sign, you're tricky, but the air is tricky. It's like they say the air is one of the hardest elements to master, right? Um, so you do have to pay attention. You do have to listen to the whispers. You do have to listen to what's on the breeze, right? You need to like notice if you smell, the rose, right? Then that's, oh, I got it. Candles, these things, because it comes in on the air. Air is always moving. You can't see air, right? And so working with air signs, working with Libra, you do have to go more into those feelings. You do have to go into more of this of intuition. You do have to go more into your heart. And if the idea is those places in your heart are a little wounded or a little beat up or a little offline, you gotta fix those, right? And the way that we fix those is sometimes just being still, just knowing, right? Having that faith that the right things will come in to heal them, right? We don't have to know exactly what it is or what it's gonna look like, but we know it's gonna come in because we're supposed to be in balance. We're supposed to be able to move forward. Um, we're supposed to be able to let things go, right? We don't want to keep carrying off this generational baggage with us for the rest of our lives. But getting into these spaces can be tricky and it can be hard. And the thing is, the planets put us in these spaces in order for us to move, right? And now here we are, that we're in this space for all this to happen in order for us to keep moving. Mhm. And so it is this idea about evolving, right? One of the things about astrology that I don't really understand is why, like, because the planets are constantly moving, we are constantly evolving, but this idea is like, oh, it's hitting that point again. So, it's gonna bring all the same things up again. It might bring up themes, you guys, but the idea is that all the planets have moved to bring in new ways of handling and dealing with and learning from our life situations. So Mercury right now is conjunct Neptune, which is great. Mercury is no longer in a sextile with Uranus, who is in Taurus. So Mercury had this deep conversation with Uranus. Remember, Mars is still sextiling Uranus. Venus is going to be sextiling Uranus for a while, and so is Saturn. So, and when they're having that conversation with Uranus rules Aquarius, which is fixed air. It's its modern day ruler. Uranus is not going to let you plant the same seeds that have already been planted in Taurus. So if they're like, what if we do this? It's like, no. What if we do this? No. What if we do this? No. And so Mercury has now moved out of that sextile and is now speaking with Neptune, right? So um, Mercury was in Pisces talking to Uranus, right, which is those beginning and endings. It's that mutable water. It wants to take us higher. If Mercury was speaking plans to Uranus that were low illusion, delusion, addiction, Uranus was like, no, 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 no. So now it is conjunct Neptune, and Neptune is at that 0 degrees of Aries, bringing in this new consciousness into this I am presence where the sun is. And so again, I can't stress this enough. This is a huge time that you can't rely on the old way, um, your old bag of tricks, if you will. This is all about newness. So again, Saturn has no rings. So where you would go maybe to find that respite is no longer there because Saturn is like, you guys have got to figure this out, right? We're in a new way. Okay, we've got to set these new boundaries. We've got to set these new rules. We've got to set new ways to deal with time and how to get our work done. So Mercury is taking that message that it had with Venus and Mars and Uranus and is whispering to Neptune, okay, this is the new plan. This is what's happening because Uranus isn't having it anymore. Okay. Neptune, you've got to bring this new consciousness into that I am presence, right? You've got to bring in this new consciousness into how we move forward, right? Because Aries is movement. Um, and the sun is understanding this as well, right? But it's like saying, well, I tried, but blah, blah, blah. And I tried, I tried out, and Eris is like, okay, where's the plan? And right now the plan is very fluid. The plan has to be new. The plan has to be something different. The plan can't be, um, it's almost like the plan can't be one-on-one combat. Okay, it's not combating, it's sort of like circumventing. There's a different way, right? You know, almost like the Trojan horse, right? Like they had to get the horse in there before they could go to battle, right? They couldn't just keep battling them the old-fashioned way. And this is kind of what it is. We've got to get new plans in order to um, fight the old fight, because it's not a new fight, you guys. It's not a new fight. It's just a new higher way of combating what is coming at us. So again, there's so much energy. Drink lots of water always, but drink more water, especially with this full moon. Because Mars is still in Cancer, right? And I can't stress this enough either. With Mars still being in Cancer and Neptune bringing all that water into Aries, there is no way. Like if you are drowning, you can't fight the water or you will drown. You've got to come into a place where you can float, right? You've got to come into a place where you can feel the current to get you. You've got to work with the current. If you're in a riptide, you got to swim sideways, which I've never been in one, but that's what they say. You got to swim sideways with it, so it finally puts you up out on the shore. You can't fight it. And this is where we're at, you guys. This is where we're at. That moon is holding the space in Libra. Libra is air. You can't fight the air. You got to kind of see where it's going so you can catch a breeze, right? It's the same thing with all this water, with these the masculine side of us that wants to move forward. We've really got to just take a minute and see what's the newness coming in, like what's the new plan, which is important because I think we're all old. We're all tired of the old plan. We're all tired of the old, and we do want to see the newness. We do want to feel something exciting. We do want to see that hope, right? Which is Aquarius, right? Hope and healing. The star card and the tarot. So we do want to start moving that way. And this is it's trying to help us set that course because we've really got to really understand all the old ways that didn't work. It is back. I know you guys probably get tired of hearing this idea of surrendering, right? Turning it over, letting go. I can't fight water. I can't fight wind. So what is the new way of being? What is the new way of showing up? What is the new way of moving forward? Right now, Mars is trining Saturn, right? And so if Mars is trying to ask Saturn, ye old dad, um, why aren't you protecting me? Why aren't you helping with this? And Saturn's like, enough. We can't keep doing things the old way. And Saturn's still sitting in Pisces. And to me, it's still just getting rid of all that old, shitty lower Pisces energy, which was all that illusion and delusion, right? And confusion, and we can go to addiction as well. But just being confused, like, why isn't this changing? Why is this not working, and it's showing us all the places why it's not changing and why it's not working. And so instead of trying to fight water on that, it's telling us circumvent, go around, do something new, let all that go, stop fighting, stop telling the person on the playground, your mom's prettier than my mom, we gotta, okay, great, let's go do something different, and it is building this new structure, right? We still have because those old structures are falling. That's still that Uranus and Taurus, right? It's still shaking what people thought were solid to show us where all the cracks are so we can build something new. Mars is also trining Neptune, okay? So that trine is that 120 degrees between each them. And so Neptune being at 0 degrees of Aries, which Mars rules, they're in that conversation. It is trying to get this, it's not trying, it is getting this new consciousness into the way we move because Mars is also opposite of Pluto right now, right? And Pluto is transformation, transmutation, right? So if it's like, oh, well, we could just do it this way, and then it's coming up against Pluto, and Pluto, again, flush, no, sorry, not doing it. The idea of letting go, um, in new creation and bringing things back into balance is so strong and happening all at the same time. Um, that there's no way around it. We can't skate around it. We can't think like, oh, maybe I'll work on this tomorrow. It is confronting us. It's confronting us in the face. Pluto is also death, right? Well, if I don't get moving, will I ever get this done? You know? Um, and the idea is like, yeah, this is what you want to do. You've got to do it differently. You got to do it differently. We can't just keep chugging Celsius and get things done the way we want it to. It's got to be more mindful. It's got to be more intentional. It's got to be more aligned with who we are, And this is hitting us all at once, okay? Because like the gloves are off. We can't keep thinking like, well, maybe tomorrow. But I don't want this to come off like you should all have figured out right now. The thing that we're supposed to be figuring out right now with this Libra bringing us into balance is really what we've got to do differently. What it is really that we can't keep repeating because it's not going to work. And that might seem a little scary or like, great, now what do I do? And that's okay to say that. And the answer is like, yeah, great, now, great. Yeah, now what do you do? And wait and see, right? Wait and see where you want to go. Get that list of ideas, okay? Um, think of like, I used to do it this way, it's not working anymore. So what's a different way of doing it? Or do I still need to even be still doing that in the first place? We talked about in Moon School, this full moon in Libra was really bringing in the ideas of releasing, right? Because full moons are releasing things that we don't need to be doing anymore that aren't working, right? But we keep thinking, I got to do it anyway. I was talking about, I sell oils, right? And the one oil that stops people in its tracks every single time is my rose oil, which I love. But I also love doing the gardenia and the jasmine, and the sandalwood. But the reality of it is, if I want to streamline things and the universe is showing me what's work, it is the rose oil. Okay. So, but in my mind, I'm thinking I've got to do all these other oils because I do work with the moon, and the magnolia and the jasmine and the gardenia are flowers of the moon, So um Rose is the alchemist, right? But I digress. But that's just the idea, right? Maybe there's just things we don't need to keep doing that we can just let go. We can really look at to see what's working and just enjoy that. I was talking to a friend the other day where she was talking about one of her clients sells jewelry, and her number one customer, like their ages, I would say, was like between like 40 and 65, right? Um, and she was basically upset because she wanted a younger crowd, right? And so she was like, well, I want to change my marketing, to pull in a younger crowd. And my friend was saying, you need to stick with these people because they have the money. And like she sells high-end jewelry. But the girl was really upset because that's what she wanted. And so it's also like this idea of noticing what's bringing us into balance, right? And being happy with that. Like, if this is it, let's be happy with this. Let's work with this. And if there's something deep in your heart that really wants to get in, um, a younger crowd or, fill in the blank, then you do something different, right? Maybe she can create a different line of jewelry that's at a lower, price point or something that she can just blast out to 20-year-olds. I don't know, but I hope you guys are getting the idea. So, again, if you are, if things in your life that are working, where are you fighting against it? Where are you not accepting it? You know, um, where things that aren't working, let them go. Bring yourself into balance. Um, Mars is also squaring Chiron, right? So all the fire energy is right up in Chiron's face, okay? And they're having a big old conversation with how do we move forward? Um, why aren't things the same? Okay, because they're not. Mars is also squaring Black Moon Lilith, squaring Eris, but trining and sextiling is trining the North Node and sextiling the South Node. And so we're having all this tension of how to move forward. Black Moon Lilith is not going to let things be the same. Eris wants, again, strategery, to move things forward. The masculine side of us, you guys, is going under such a huge transformation, um, with this, and the fact that it's, trining the North Node. So it's saying, okay, I know I need to get higher, right? I know I need to, because the North Node's in Pisces, I know I need to go more into this faith. I know I need to get more into this um, way of letting go, forgiveness. One thing ends, another thing begins. I'll start moving quicker. At the same time, it's sextiling Virgo, where the South Node is. So it's got to let go of being the martyr. It's got to let go of just digging its heels in. It's got to letting go of being the only one who knows how to resolve it. No, this is me. I'm going to do it my way or the highway. That's a lot of energy, right? And our sweet moon is just there holding it all, allowing things to, the full moon is for us to see, right? It's for us to release and then for us to call in all at the same time. And Libra's up for the challenge. Libra wants to be in balance. Libra wants to, like, no one wants to be off kilter, right? It wants to get these scales even. Right now, Venus is trining Mars. And let's just talk about Venus for a small sec. So Venus is now the morning star, right? And so before she used to tuck us into bed and tell us to have a good night's sleep. She was there, but now we get to wake up with her. So Venus is like, oh, great, you guys, it's time to start a new day. You two, are a shining star. Don't forget your self-worth today. Venus is telling us all these sweet things as we get into the morning, to meet the sun, right? To meet the masculine. Um, and then also to meet the moon, because a lot of times we see the moon as well out throughout the day as well. So Venus is exalted right now. She's still in Pisces. She's stationing direct today, tomorrow. So she will be full steam ahead here pretty soon. So all planets will be moving direct. 2025 is off the charts. So she's trining Mars, so she's able to soothe Mars, right? Because she is in Pisces, he's in Cancer. She's able to speak to him very easily. She is conjunct Saturn, so where Mars might be having, you know, that conversation, not feeling good about himself, maybe feeling a little abandoned by the father because Saturn's not there to help him like he used to. She's able to have that communication between them, right? To see why he needs to move forward, why he needs to quote unquote grow up, right? Why he needs to be more mature, why he needs to hold accountability. Same with Neptune, like this is the new cycle that we're moving into. Um, and she's also still sextiling Uranus. She's conjunct Neptune. So she's having a deep conversation as well with Neptune, who's in Aries. And so I can't, again, I know I sound like a broken record, but this leveling up, right, of this masculine energy in us, um, and this like, but it's also like understanding and really coming to see how strong the feminine energy is in us, right? And how they're supposed to work together, right? This is all happening right now. There was two other things that I want to talk about, and then we'll wrap it up because I don't like when these videos get too long, but I know this one's off the freaking charts. But Neptune right now, who is at 0 degrees Aries, is sextiling Pluto in Aquarius. And this is really important because, again, it's bringing in these new ideas. It's bringing in new possibilities, right? Which sometimes is sad, right, you guys? Because sometimes we do get sad, like, or bummed out, like, because we are used to things. And I'm not saying like toxic, shitty things, but just like, I just remember doing it this way and it just worked and it seemed easy and everyone seemed happy, kind of surface level, right? Like, that was, the good old days or whatever you want to say. Eggs were $2 or $1, or gas was $1, and it was just easy. You could work, go pump your gas, blah, blah, right? Um, but Neptune is sextiling Pluto. Pluto is letting that illusion where we thought it was the good old days, die. It's bringing in transformation. It's saying these can be the good old days too, right? Because we're bringing in this new consciousness into Aries, which is our I am presence, which is the way that we move. And our I am presence is actually expanding and starting to understanding everyone's I am presence and understanding there's more than enough space to have all these I am presences on the planet, right? There's more than enough space. It's safe to have, you know, more than one opinion. It's safe to see how people get along, right? How we get along, and how we have more in common than we don't, right? It's safe to see that, right? It's safe to find common ground, right? It doesn't have to be my way or the highway. In Neptune, sextiling Pluto is really starting to bring in this idea of the cosmos, this idea of thinking differently, this idea of being like, yeah, everyone's fine, right? And this is a tough time for that because we need that more than ever. And this is what's here. The last thing I'm going to talk about is Black Moon Lilith. Um, and she is at 0 degrees of Scorpio. All these 0 degree points are karmic turning points, right? Um, Scorpio, of all the planets, Uranus has been in Taurus since like 2018, 2019, getting redone, because we need new stability. Pluto is now in Aquarius, moving that around, that fixed air. Um, Black Moon Lilith going into Scorpio at 0 degrees is really starting to transform Scorpio more into, I'm not going to say where it needs to be, but where it needs to be in this new time, right? All the planets and the energies did what they were supposed to do at this time, but we're moving into a new time. And Black Moon Lilith is the idea of the first wife of Adam. She didn't submit. She knew her self-worth. She knew that, things needed to be equal, right? And so she's moving into Scorpio, into these waters of Scorpio, and she's bringing that energy with her. And it's getting rid of that old idea of Scorpio, that lower Scorpio vibe who was like, I know I laugh every time I say this, and I'm sorry. The magician or the hypnotist. God, it's just if you've been around lower Scorpio men, you guys know what I'm talking about. And anyway, and she's bringing in this the higher energy of Scorpio, which is the idea of, you know, of sex, knowing who you are, but like the sex, not as a being and not as a doing. She's bringing in this idea of being solid, knowing the masculine and feminine are within the body. They work together. That is part of that I am presence. That is who we are. And so this is a big time on the planet. And this is a big full moon, you guys. So be gentle with yourselves. Understand all these things are resetting within us. And if you feel a little blah, you know, kind of ask yourself why, maybe do a little journaling, or at least take a time out to figure it out, because the idea is that we need to kind of move through these things, allow them to go, allow them to be done once and for all. Um, so we can move forward. And let me just say this. This is a sidebar because, you go through, you see what other people are talking about. You see what other tarot readers are talking about and, talking about love and relationships and all these things. Um, are probably never going to go away because we are people and we cohabitate or want to or don't want to, but we have other people in there. If you are listening, and I mean this, if you are listening to the 300th video of they're thinking about you, they're coming back, stop. Stop it. They're not coming back. Move on, go forward, be happy with your life, do what you want to do. Stop waiting on people. This is not the time, especially now, this is literally not the time to be waiting on people. Okay? I am very irritated with people right now, and this is my own personal opinion. Do yourselves a favor and just start living. They're not coming back. And if that is devastating you, um, work with that energy, work with that. Get a therapist, do some, modalities to understand that you need to love yourself. You are always going to be here for yourself. You are going to be there to move forward. You have this one wild and crazy life. Either go find someone else that appreciates you and loves you. But it's time, you guys, to move forward. It's time to move on. You can't, they're not coming back. These old relationships are not coming back. You want a new relationship. You want a new relationship with yourself. You want a new relationship with the cosmos. You want a new relationship with the sun. You want a new relationship with the moon. Let this moon in Libra bring all this shit back into balance. Okay. And stop waiting on people to come back. Those days are over. And some days are going to be better than others with this thought, but really, we've we've got to move forward. Even Mars is moving forward, right? He's moving forward. He's not he might be bummed out that things can't be the same. He's bummed out his dad Saturn isn't helping him out, but you know, in order to grow and you've got in order to succeed or to keep living, you've got to adapt. And we've got to adapt and we've got to move forward. And this is the time that we are writing the story of ourselves. It's our hero's journey. It's our myths that we're creating. Old myths are dying. Who's stopping? Yeah, I'm not surprised. So move forward. Look at this, the Knight of Wands. Look at this beautiful knight on his horse. It is fire. Um, when he gets inspired, rides. He is fire on fire, right? And so the Knight of Wands is there. The Knight of Wands is always loyal. The Knight of Wands is ready for this new adventure. The Knight of Wands is ready for this new passion. Knight of Wands is ready for this new desire to live differently, this new desire to see yourself differently, the new desire to think differently, the new desire to speak differently. And right now, this full moon is elevating us for sure, but it's also showing us all the things that we need to let go, or just allowing us to see that things are being let go, or allowing us to release, and let new things in, right? So it's all happening at once. Big full moon, you guys. I can't stress this enough. But I did talk about it for at least like 30 minutes. So I think you guys know. All right, friends, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it with this beautiful Knight of Wands. Whenever I'm stuck in traffic, I'm always yelling, Knight of Wands, come get me. So you can get me out of there. I don't know, just helps the time go by and lessen the frustration, I guess. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. Be gentle with yourselves, be gentle with others. We're all trying to figure this out on this giant whirling rock that's going through outer space. Drink plenty of water. Wear your sunscreen. It's a beautiful day. If you guys need anything, feel free to reach out, and I will talk to you soon.